Hi, in this video, we are going to look at discussion about the CMI exam. And basically, one of the students on the channel had asked strategies for preparing for this exam. So I will just discuss the syllabus in detail and tell you how you should prepare for the exam. Okay. So generally, the exam has two parts. There is the A part for the paper, which has some objective questions, which is fairly standard. There's nothing very difficult here. Usually there are 10 questions here, and it is similar to the level of JEE Advanced, you can say, these 10 questions. And then there is a B part, which has subjective questions. Now, these subjective questions are slightly more challenging. You can say that it is similar to RMO and sometimes even Indian National Maths Olympiad level. So that is the rough uh, difficulty level for the exam. This is like JEE Advanced, and this is slightly harder. So how do you prepare for this exam? So what I would say is go over the syllabus in a step-by-step manner. So let's look at it together. So algebra, the typical problems come from the topics of polynomials. Polynomials, here you have to think about nature of roots, polynomial division, uh, properties of functions. Then you have solvability of equations, solvability of equations. So you have things like Vieta's theorem and properties of quadratic equations or polynomial equations, number of roots, properties of roots, and so on. And finally, you have binomial theorem and inequalities, binomials and inequalities. So these topics are basically similar to what you study for JEE Advanced. Inequalities, you will have a few of the inequalities that you might not encounter in JEE, but slightly higher level for Olympiads, right? So for algebra, I would say a lot of these concepts have been covered in my Math Olympiad Masterclass course, Math Olympiad Masterclass course on Udemy. So you can look at that. It is available at a very cheap price right now. If you don't want to do that, you can also look at videos on my channel. On my channel, there are a lot of videos covering these ideas. All of these topics are covered in detail. So use that, and you can use as a practice source, you can use Pathfinder book, the senior Pathfinder. So that will give you a taste of the problems that you might expect in these topics, right? If you don't have this book, you can also use uh, standard Olympiad material. Look at previous year's Olympiad problems from RMO or INMO level. So maybe INMO is a little too difficult, but RMO level problems, if you look at last 5-10 years, you can find all of the problems on these topics, and that should be enough for you to prepare this. Start in a step-by-step manner. The theory has been covered in multiple places. I have my Udemy course on which the whole thing has been covered. Also, there are playlists on my channel covering all of these topics. So you can look at that. If you want practice problems, you can go through these resources, right? The next topic is geometry. In geometry, we have triangles, properties of triangles, circles, and theorems on circles. Then we have coordinate geometry, basics of coordinate geometry, trigonometry, and complex numbers. Complex numbers and their geometrical applications comes under this as well. So for this topic, most of the syllabus is covered in a standard JEE Advanced course. So if you have prepared for JEE Advanced, you have already done most of it. It is not much harder than what you know need for JEE Advanced. I would recommend SL Loni for your trigonometry and coordinate geometry. Trigonometry and coordinate geometry. And I would say for the pure geometry part, Evan Chen's book, you can do only a few chapters. You can do the chapter on triangles. You can try the chapter on circles. You don't have to do the whole book. You need to do a few chapters from Evan Chen's book for the pure geometry part. And for complex numbers, I would recommend T2 and Rescue's book on complex numbers from A to Z. Complex numbers from A to Z. This book is very good. It will cover whatever you need. Basically, it's for Olympiads, but uh, for this exam, you don't need to do the whole thing, but you need to cover at least like a significant portion of this book to be well prepared for complex numbers. Again, videos on this are available in my channel. It is available in my Udemy course. You should check out those videos. Those are very good. So I have put in a lot of effort and I have covered all of these topics. So you can check out my channel or you can check out the Udemy course. But these are the book recommendations that I would recommend. SL Loni for trigonometry and coordinate geometry is super important. All the properties of triangles and coordinate geometry that you will ever need is there in SL Loni. You can use that. That's a very good resource. Okay, next moving on to the number theory sections. So in number theory, the typical questions that they ask in the exams are based on basically modulo arithmetic, congruences, then your GCD concept and divisibility problems, and finally primes, prime numbers, factorization, and sometimes some additional topics like rationality and rational numbers and so on. So there is no one resource for this. These are not very difficult topics to master. A good place to start would be AOPS chapters on number theory, art of problem solving chapters on number theory. In the basically there are two books, volume 1 and volume 2. So art of problem solving volume 1 and volume 2 has separate chapters on number theory. If you do those properly, you should be well prepared for all of this. Otherwise, I have started a playlist on number theory recently, on number theory on my channel, which is known as Into the Numberverse. Into the Numberverse. So I intend to cover all of the theory that is required for number theory from an Olympiad perspective in great detail. So there will be 30 to 40 videos definitely on number theory that will be coming in this playlist. And it will cover the whole theory in a very uh, high level of detail. So there will be a lot of problems also. So you can use that playlist for studying here, right? Uh, I have also covered it in my Udemy course, so I'm not going to mention it again. You can use that as well. But this playlist you can follow. You can just practice problems from here. That should be enough. The next topic is calculus. The next topic is calculus. And calculus is pretty standard. You have functions, continuity, and differentiability. And you have integrals. And integrals has a slightly different flavor here. You have to calculate volume of solids using integration, convergence. You have Leibniz rule. So the typical stuff, indefinite and definite integrals that you learn in JEE, That will be useful, but there is a little bit extra which may not be familiar to you. So for that, you should refer to Thomas and Feeney's calculus book. Thomas and Feeney's Calculus and Analytic Geometry, that book. Some chapters on this, some advanced chapters in that book cover these things very well. Okay. Calculus and Analytic Geometry. That is the textbook for this. For the functions, limits, and continuity and differentiability parts, you can refer to any standard JEE Advanced textbook. JEE Advanced problems, problem books. So there are lots of them in the market. If you follow any of them, you should get a good handle on it. One of them would be Sameer Bansal's Problems in Calculus, for example, right? Problems in Calculus. That is decent. It's a good collection of problems for these topics, right? Also, like if you want help here, you can join my online math camp. The online math camp is starting from January 10th, and the first topic that we'll be doing is calculus. So we'll be discussing a lot of problems there, and we'll be covering all of this theory anyway. So that is also an option for you. You can join it. The videos are on my site. The link to the group for it is also on the YouTube channel, right? Okay. And finally, we have discrete maths. Discrete maths is basically combinatorics. So in this, the chapters that are there are combinatorics, basic counting principles, and there is probability. So for probability, I would say use JEE Advanced problem books, JEE Advanced material. Coaching material is also fine. And you can use that for practicing. For combinatorics, the PNC part I think is covered pretty well in our JEE Advanced preparation, but some advanced stuff is not covered for JEE Advanced. So for that advanced stuff, you have to look at Olympiad books. A good place to start would be either AOPS books for combinatorics, or there is a book called Principle and Techniques in Combinatorics. Principle and Techniques in Combinatorics. That is by some Chinese authors. I am forgetting the name right now. He's Seng Mo or something like that. Ko. I am not sure about the names right now, but if you search for this book, Principle and Techniques in Combinatorics, you will definitely find it online. It's a very nice book for combinatorics. Otherwise, if you don't have the book or access to the book, you can use Udemy course again. I have covered all of these topics in my course. The course is available at a very decent price right now. You can join the course and you can basically learn all of these concepts there, right? So there are a lot of problems also discussed. You will not need anything else, okay? So that is what I would say for these two topics. In general advice for preparing for this exam would be solve previous year's questions of CMI exam. That should be your priority. Anytime you do the theory of a particular section, please solve PYQs of the CMI exam for the last like 10 years or so. If you solve last 10 years worth of questions, all the ideas that you need for the coming exam, you will get. Focus on being able to write proper subjective arguments. Focus on being able to write subjective proofs. So make sure that you have a good proof method. So that comes only by practice. You have to learn how to write it the way it's supposed to be done. If it's a proof by contradiction, you have to state your assumptions first and you have to get to a contradiction. If it's the standard proof by induction, you have to do your induction properly, establish the base case, and go do the induction step properly. So many times you may know how to do it, but you may not know how to write it well. So in part B of the exam, the writing part is important. You need to learn how to write a proof. So look at the old problems, look at proofs, how they are done in standard books, and follow that method, right? So in general, the syllabus is not very big. Part A of the syllabus is like preparing for JEE only, JEE Advanced. So that should be okay for anybody who is seriously considering the exam. Part B of the syllabus is like RMO level. So not as high as INMO, but probably at RMO level. The questions will be subjective. You have to learn how to prove things, and you can follow the concepts that are there in each of those syllabus topics from the standard books, and that should be enough, right? If you need more help, you can contact me and I'll try and help you. But otherwise, I think that is a good summary of how to prepare for this exam. So let me know in the comments if there is anything further that you need to figure out. But otherwise, that's it for this video. I'll see you next time.